our team will show you how to create morph animations in Blender. Then we are going to show you some very cool new techniques that you may not be aware of for decorating rooms in IMVU Studio. And after our demos, we will answer your questions via our QA feature. Please use the QA feature to answer questions, and remember to keep your questions on topic and GA friendly. If you haven't downloaded the latest IMVU Studio product, you can find it here, and I will put it in chat. And you can also find recordings of our past IMVU Studio learning sessions here, and I will also put that in the chat. And you can download the IMVU Studio toolkits, which I will put in the chat as well. And I wanted to just let you know that we will be recording this webinar so that creators who were unable to attend the live session can view it later. All right, let's do some intros. So first, a huge welcome to our creator in residence, Miyaka's Creations.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And also Mighty Seven and Drosselmeyer, our technical artists. Great to have you here.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here.
Great to be here as well.
And of course, Tonic, our product director for the creator team. Awesome to have you here, Ton.
Hey, folks. Glad to be here.
Okay, let's get started. I think, Mighty Seven, you are going to show us some Morph Animation Blender magic. Take it away.
All right. Let's see. Before we get into it, I will start with the newest update to the IMVU Studio Toolkit for Blender, which is now in its 1.0 release, which means that there should be a lot less updates going on, so you can download this version and sort of stick around with it, as there are hopefully a lot less updates that need to happen with it. And there's the new feature of facial blend shapes, or facial morphs. If you go to the create.imvu.com website, under the extra/more section, there is now an IMVU Studio Toolkit subsection. And this is where you can go to the downloads and download the Blender Toolkit. And if you go to this using IMVU Toolkit for Blender, you can go down to creating a morph animation. And this has all the information that you need to be able to know what all of the controls do and how to animate face. So now we can go into Blender, and it's attached to the animation tool. So once you append the animation file, you'll get all of these green controls, which are all to do with the face. And if you were to not want to add facial animations to your animation, you can turn it off with this morph controls checkbox, and it'll go away, and it won't export any of those. So let's turn it on, and I'll quickly show all the different things that you can do with the face. So if you go in, there's an eye control to control where they're looking. This can also be used to pop out the eye or scale it up. And for a more subtle effect, there's a smaller circle inside of it, which is just this slight eye bulging. We have the eyelids, and I forgot to mention that it's best to use local space up here. This will just make sure that this pivot is aligned with the control, and it only shows you the controls that are available. You can still do it in world space, but it just may not work exactly as expected. So we can do the upper eyelid, lower eyelid a little bit. And the eyebrows have some up and down motion and even rotation, which does some really expressive things, as well as the tips of the eyebrows can move. We have the nose that can do some snarling effect there, or you can pop it out if you want a little Pinocchio nose.
Pinocchio.
The mouth can move up and down and rotate for a little bit of jaw movement. and the tongue. You pull the tongue out a little bit. We can rotate this around or scale it in. And then over on the right side, there's a bunch of mouth shapes that you can control. These ones up here are all just a 0 to 1 in the shape that it shows above. So you have some options here. There's these two that have a left and a right side. So this can smile on the left, smile on the right. Same with these two. And then there's these boxes that if you go to the left, it'll do it on the left side, the right will do it on the right, and up will do it on both. And you can blend between those. So if you wanted a smile that's mainly open on the avatar's right side, and then you want it open a little bit more on the other side, then you can move it up to get that effect. If you go to the very extremes, it breaks a little bit as it's combining a bunch of blend shapes. So it's best to keep a little bit more subtle.
I could
But the
still see some
option's
fun
there.
things to use that for, though.
Oh, absolutely. And all of these controls that have been here for the animation tool also work here. So if I zero bone, it will zero the selected control. So if I have this out and I zero bone, it'll move that back. All right, so I will turn on auto key, and I made a quick little jumping animation here that I'm going to add a little face animation to. So that needs to be zeroed. To start, I'm going to, with auto key on, zero everything, just so that everything starts on the very base. Now let's start animating. So
For you kids
we'll
at
dip
home,
down a little bit. And
I guess
I'll
there are going to be
close
40
the
people here.
eyes,
I was the closest.
lower eyelid up.
Because with 5 participants and
No.
there's 40 viewers,
We can
I was
move
right on
the
target.
eyebrows down.
They can't hear me now. I'm muted.
Maybe let's do that. Make it look like she's just really focused and preparing on nailing this jump. The mouth
Nailed
comes
it.
up a little bit. And yeah, let's go with that. Maybe a little bit of a smile too. Looks very evil, very menacing. Maybe instead of a smile, we'll do a little.
No, she's fine. She's fine.
There we go. That's focused.
Cameron, you're having way too much fun with this.
That's the point. Jump up. And now, let's see. Let's do that. We can open the mouth a little bit. Maybe add some smile.
I do like how the panel like follows the head.
Yeah, it's very useful. Keeps it in a good place.
Oh my goodness, now I'm scared. What is that?
Let's fix the eyebrows before we get too scared.
Okay, whoa. Okay, that's better. All right.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more smile.
She looks worried and evil.
Maybe the eyes are too open. There we go. And let's stick the tongue out a little bit. Why not? There. And then
Yeah,
land back
I make that
down.
face every time I jump.
leaves some smile. She's still happy. Happy that she succeeded in her jump. And then when you go back, I'll grab all the controls again and 0 them. So now we have a jump with a little bit of a facial expression and landing back down. So now that that's in, we can export it, and I've already saved this file, and we can go into Studio. And I normally do all of my animations in an empty clothing or accessory. Seems to work best for my workflow. So we'll go to the import, and we have the animation jump scream. And during import, because it has a facial animation and the way that we need to export it from Blender, we need to export the actual mesh, but we don't need it to import it because all that we're looking for is the values associated with the facial animation. So we can uncheck this mesh because we do not want to import a different head, and the same thing with the materials. And then under the animation section, we have the anim jump animation, the skeletal animation, and the morph animation. The name is a bit long and just made up of all the different morphs that were used. So hopefully that can be changed in the future. But for now, that is how it is named. So we can go to the review and import, bring it in. And over in the component tab, under action, we can add a new action. We'll call it jump. And we can I'll add just the facial morph first so that we can see that isolated from all the extra motion. And apply. So now if I press play, there's our facial animation. Now we can add the jump as well. And everything will come together.
And
Now we can
as you, I was going
go
to
for
say,
it.
just yeah. I was just going to say, as you can see, he was animating the female avatar in Blender, but because this is just animating the morph targets, it's just the morph target data. Any product that has the facial animations in any head product that has the facial animations in it, it's using the morph target data, not actually exporting all the meshes. So this is transferable to any head that contains morph targets. So if you make your own custom head, with morph targets, with all the existing morph targets that are in the base avatar, you can use this tool to animate your own custom head as well.
Yep. And there's a bunch of heads in the catalog that may have some of the facial movements, and I have an example of that too. If I put on, this head is just a head that I got from the catalog, and it works a little bit. I'll turn off the skeletal animation again. But you can see it doesn't completely work as expected. So that's a good thing to note
A
when
little
looking
subtle.
at heads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You can also notice that during the jump, depending on how the hands are here, since I didn't actually add any frames to the hands, they stay however the hands were. But if I were to go here in Blender and export all bones and do the same export, and then bring it in again, this is all the exact same process that I did before. Now when I do the animation, the hands are always out the way that they look in Blender. And then another good thing to note, since you can sort of see it jumps from this animation into the other one very drastically, you can add some in and out blending frames. And this will allow it to more smoothly go between them. That just
So
cleans it all up a little bit.
So I'm new to Blender. What you did before, if you don't animate a bone, it won't export if you have that thing clicked?
Yep, so if this is
Ah.
unchecked, since the only controls that I moved, I used this overall hand one, but none of the fingers. These won't export.
That's fancy.
Yeah, and that can be useful if you want like just a waving animation. You don't really want to move the legs and the head and everything into a stiff upright pose with a wave. You can animate just the arm, and only the arm will be imported into Studio, and the other animation will kind of play under it.
Right. So you get to keep all the base idle animations.
And in the ensemble settings, I think you just need to make sure that you have average.
No, it works with replace.
It works with replace. Okay.
I turn on average. I think average will blend it between what it's currently and whatever your new one is. And then replace on the bones that actually come in, it will replace them. Right. Anything else that we can think of for this?
Did we want to? I think we probably want to mention the types of heads that this works on.
We did briefly show a different head and that it didn't completely work with that.
Right.
There's some heads that it'll work perfectly, and there's others that it won't work at all, since there's a bunch of heads in the catalog that don't have any facial targets, so it's not able to animate.
Right.
But
The heads themselves need to be built with those facial targets.
Yeah, so any of the IMVU Plus heads and the default IMVU heads will all work correctly.
Yeah, and
I think that
it's definitely.
Go ahead, Becca.
So it's definitely good to note that it works on both male and female heads.
Yep.
Exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same. It depends on the build of the head, but yeah. And some animal heads.
Yeah, depending if they're made correctly or in the right way. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that would work if you made a pet that had all the same facial morph targets animated. I wonder if that would work. Or whether it I bet you it has to be probably an avatar product.
If you name everything exactly the same, I don't see.
Yeah, if it's named the same, it'll work.
It would work, yeah.
Interesting.
I'm
just
assuming.
Quickly set up a female avatar to show it doing the same thing here. There was a question on whether you can implement your own IMVU avatar into Blender and revert it back to your own IMVU profile avatar. There is a limitation there where you can't get all of the meshes that make up your avatar from IMVU and download that. If you made your own and you have those files, you are able to hook it up. It takes a little bit more work because it's not immediately built in, and I have not gone through that process, but theoretically if you were to change out over here in the hierarchy, there is a mesh folder with all of the meshes, and then the head is up here under skeleton for export purposes. If you replaced those with your own and weighted them to the bones correctly, it would technically still work, since none of these meshes are being exported. They're just for visual inside of Blender. And that also follows through with the clothing and attachment tools, where you can import your avatar, and if you hook it up to the rig correctly, then you can reference it since the meshes are not exported.
Yeah, and mostly for the animation tool, you're basically applying animations to the skeleton, and then if your avatar that you've made uses that skeleton, then you get all these. You get all those animations. This is really just an animation tool, right?
Yeah. So with enough technical ability, it can be done, but it may be a bit more work than is really worth it at the end of the day. And it is robust enough to go back in, change animations, and re-import. And if you re-import the same way that you did in the past, everything will hook up correctly. Like you saw with me changing this animation, I didn't have to re-hook up the ensemble. It kept all that.
There is another question here. Does morph animation work with other derivables, animations, actions, or does it have to be only an empty accessory?
It works. I know from my own testing that it works on empty clothing and accessory. I'm not sure what else. I'd imagine it works for body parts as well.
Yeah, because all the body parts and clothing are basically derived from an avatar, an empty avatar clothing or an avatar clothing root.
Yeah.
So I think it would work on all avatar stuff. Accessory, I'm not 100% sure though, because an accessory typically has its own. Oh, but well, if you could, well, we said earlier that if a pet product you made had all the morph targets, it should work. So
yeah, it would work on an accessory if you had an accessory that had the morph targets, but it wouldn't work on
right.
the avatar.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll quickly import it into an empty accessory, which we can see what happens.
Cool, we're testing live.
Yeah.
Did not work right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work.
This just need to be changed. It may not work. No.
Try action type avatar there, just out of kicks. I kind of don't think that's going to make a difference, but
Nope.
No. Yeah. Yeah, because
Okay,
I think
so
all
clothing works, and it looks like the empty accessory does not work, but I believe there is a way to get it work. I just do not know that way.
The skeleton that is attached to the accessory is the accessory skeleton, the attach node, and anything that you add to that.
Okay, so it just branches off of that.
Yeah, it branches off of that. So it's not directly related to the avatar skeleton in any way.
Gotcha.
So if you make an avatar as a pet, you could have a pet avatar.
Yeah. All right. That's all the questions and everything I have to show.
Thanks a lot, Cameron. That was awesome.
Thanks.
It's a great tool.
Yeah, it's really good. It kind of actually makes me want to go into Blender more.
Yeah.
No, it's actually really cool.
It is also available for, well, I guess the facial morphs are only in Blender currently, but they will be coming to Maya and 3ds Max as soon as we get that working.
I wait with a bated breath.
As do I.
So we got a couple more questions here. One is, can we override the standard AVI animations on the standard AVI? And yes, you can. If I understand it correctly, and Miyaka, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have to derive from the base avatar and then go into each one of the actions and replace the animations that are there with your own animations. When I've
Yes.
tried to do this in the past, it's been really tedious.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. That's where the copy and paste button would be awesome if that ever got
Yeah.
implemented. But yeah, the base animations for both the male and the female avatars are unreplaceable. If you delete them, they will pop right back up when you reload the product.
Right.
So yeah,
If
it's
you
just easier just to replace them all.
if you replace them and like in Studio, if you like change the name, that all sticks.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, you
If
mean
you
like replace
if you replace
like
every
stamp?
single one,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
the female avatar I believe has 10 standing animations and 8 sitting animations, and you have to replace every single one of them. If you use the same animation file, it'll work fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the men is opposite. It's like 8 standing. I don't remember, but something like that.
A lot.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't just rename the stance.standing, stance.sitting, because those will come back. I believe it's the case.
Yeah, it just reverts back to its old thing.
Okay, and the one more question, how do I import my avatar from my IMVU profile into Blender? You aren't able to unless you made all of the avatar products and you have the 3D files. But in that case, you would open up Blender and just import the FBX files, and then you would just have to hook them up in this probably the same way that you hooked them up when you made the avatar file, if you made your own. But that again comes to, it would be a bunch of work, a bit more technical, could break stuff, and is probably not worth doing at the end of the day.
Yeah, basically, it comes down to, unless you are the creator of the product, you can't really edit the 3D source.
Yeah.
And that's just because if you were able to do that, then you could like borrow from other people.
That was a very PC way of putting it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Any other questions out there?
Shall we move on to the exciting room decoration and IMVU Studio features?
Yeah. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
Let's see. Can everyone see?
Yep.
My screen okay? Okay, great. So a slightly different topic. I thought it would be a good idea to share a few tips and tricks on using room decoration in Studio. In case there's some people out there that don't know, about a year ago, we actually created Room Deco 2.0. And this is on IMVU Desktop and IMVU Web, where it's kind of an improved room decoration with lots and lots of tools. And if you want to know more about Room Deco, if you haven't used it on IMVU Desktop, this is where you go to learn about it. And there's a video here and a lot of tutorials on all of the different tool sets to be able to decorate your rooms. And I'll post a right there. I just posted the link to this tutorial. And if you go into IMVU Desktop, which I have an instance of it open right here, this is what room decoration looks like. You can very easily click on areas to add furniture items. You can very easily move items around, rotate items. It gives you a tool set, very, very familiar if you work with 3D products. And so all of these new features of Room Deco we actually implemented into IMVU Studio. So if I go into IMVU Studio right now, and the main reason creators have wanted these features in Studio is mostly to reference products that they're working on. Like if they're working on a room product, and then if you're working on a bunch of furniture products and they need to look really good in that room, you want to be able to put your products in the room, and basically be able to, reference them all together. So I'm just going to open up just a really simple furniture product here. Looks like it's a little Roomba. Oh, and it's moving. I didn't even realize that. Look at that. Right here is room decoration mode. You click on that and you get a very, very familiar interface where you can add furniture products to the room you're working on. But let me back up real quickly. The other thing that you can do is you can load rooms into the project you're working on. So this furniture product here is the product that I'm working on right now. And if I go to the inventory search and click on rooms, any room that I own, like the IMVU Wonderland that you were just looking at, I can actually load as my background. And now if we can find the little Roomba, he's around here somewhere. He's probably in the grass. He's probably mowing the grass somewhere. I should have picked a bigger object. But in any case, you can load the room as your sort of your background for the product that you're working on. And then if I were to go and save this draft product, when I close it and when I open this draft back up again, it will always load with that particular room as a reference. And since I have this room open,
I just saw him. He's in the fountain.
He's in the fountain. Is that where he is?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there he is. There he is. That's right, because he's probably on the zero point of the room. Well, this is a perfect opportunity for me to go into room decoration. So in IMVU Studio, you can go into room decoration mode, just like you can room decoration in IMVU Studio. I mean, in IMVU Desktop. And if I can click on him, I might need to move this guy out of the way.
Yeah, I think your the teapot fountain is intercepting.
Right. Yeah, I was trying to move it. I had the teapot fountain. I had the teapot locked. So now I can kind of move him out of the way. There we go. Now I can get
there. He is.
There he is. Let's move him over here, just so we can play with a little more. And Room Deco 2 also gives you a really great feature where you can pause the animations, which Drossel, I know you were actually asking about.
Yeah, because another
earlier conversation.
Yeah, another user had wanted to see animated lights and like how you could edit those, which is something we're looking at adding soon. But they were moving, and I was like, well, how would you actually be able to select those? But the fact that you could pause animations is really cool.
That is cool. I didn't know you could do that.
You can pause animations, and you can also speed them up and slow them down. And that'll work on all of the seat nodes animations as well. I'm just going to move him back because, yeah, okay, there we go. That's much better. He should be kind of floating in the air now. So the only reason I wanted to do this is to show you this is the actual product that I'm editing, and I can actually place the product that I'm editing around the room and manipulate it just like I can furniture items that are decorated in the room. Now, if you notice that this is one of my decorated rooms that I own. When I opened this room, when I loaded it into IMVU Studio, it loaded the whole decorated room. And if I were to go in and maybe just add a few items to the room, maybe like maybe like this. And I'm putting it in the air just to make it really obvious. Making changes to a room like this in IMVU Studio does not update the room. It stays local, and any changes to this room that you make, if I close this project in Studio and open it up again, you'll see the same furniture that I've manipulated in the same place. But the actual live decorated room, it does not make those changes. And so in Studio, we wanted to make sure that it was intentional. If you actually wanted to change the state of your room on the server. And so we added these two buttons on the top right. One is upload state, which means that this is, if I click this, it's going to upload the changes that I made to the server, and my live room will have these changes to the room. And then the second one is reset state, which it will take the current state of the room from the server and reset your room to that state. So I'm going to do that first and show you. So if I click on reset state, of course, you see like all the changes that I've made are no longer there, the furniture that I added. But if I were to let's see, like let me do the same thing again. Let me add like just a bunch of these, right? And then if I say upload state, it uploads the state to the server. And then if I go back to IMVU desktop, if you notice, now my instance on IMVU desktop, which this is the live version of the room, now it uploads the state and it mimics what I have in IMVU Studio. So IMVU Studio is another way to decorate rooms that you're working on, but you have a little more control over when you want it to actually push that up to the server or not. These are manual controls. I'd love to get into all of the features just as far as manipulating content in Room Deco. You can replace things, you can make copies of things, you can copy the XYZ coordinates and rotation of certain items if you need to make identical copies. You can press the W, E, and R keys to move really quickly between offset, rotate, and scale. That way you can like really easily move things around, rotate things around. I'm just doing this with the quick keys with my fingers. Anyways, all that is detailed in the tutorial that I showed everyone. And this is, again, just to express that all of these features are in IMVU Studio now for you to use and to make your creation life a bit easier. That's all I got.
Yeah, somebody asked only live rooms. They don't have to be quote unquote live rooms. It's any room, any decorated room, correct?
Yeah, yes. Any decorated room, public, private, or live.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I probably misspoke when I said live room, and there's live room with the capital L, which is the rooms that can have like participants and lots of audience members, and then I was thinking of the lowercase live room, which means the actual room state on the server.
Yeah.
There was another question. I find that camera pan angle on my room is offset, which shows me the floor, and I always have to adjust it back to normal. Is there a way to reset camera angles once you save a room or an application is closed, for example?
The camera angle when you first go into a room?
Not entirely sure.
I'm wondering if that's let me.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said yes, the camera when you first go into the room.
Oh yes, so the camera, so the position of the camera, I think it is actually set in 3D Max or Blender when with the creator of the room shell. So the actual room shell has control over that initial camera placement, and I think that is also where the snapshot of the room shell is taken. That is shown in the shop. That is under the control of the person that made the room shell. we are actually thinking about changing that, as well as a lot of other things, like lighting, for instance, and eventually move the control of where those placements take place into Studio itself. So if you derive off of a room shell and you want the camera placements to be somewhere else for the snapshot and for the initial placement, you'll have control over that. But for right now, the control lies with the creator of the room shell.
Yeah, they've mentioned that it shows them the floor position currently.
Yeah, and I think if that's the case, it might have been that the creator of the room shell forgot to set a camera placement. And so it might have been, it might be just like some weird default. Maybe if the camera is just like looking straight at the floor.
Right, because if you create a room and you don't include a camera in it, you'll get whatever is the default camera that we put in the room when the room is initialized. The other thing too could be that the creator put the camera in kind of a weird position. And so when you first go into the room, it'll always, the camera will always take the coordinates from the camera that's supplied by the room. And if that's in a weird position, you'll get a weird view of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I don't think we have any outstanding questions here. So I think, oh, there's one more. Can you use another or purchased credits room to make your own room using derivable products? Does that make sense?
Thinking. Can you?
Okay,
You can use
I can hear you thinking.
Yes, we are. Can you hear click, 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 click? Yeah, we're. Kyle, what I think you might be asking is just general creation of rooms. You can purchase room shells, which there are millions of them in the catalog, and you can purchase like lots of furniture, and then as a user go into room decoration and combine all that stuff together to make a decorated room, which is actually what this is. And I think that's what you're talking about. You can clarify if I'm off base here. Really interesting though is when you're looking for furniture products, as just an example, if you notice, like as I'm going over these grass areas, they're highlighting. Each of these grass areas is actually a furniture product. So when you're looking for ways to decorate your room, especially outdoor scenarios, there are creators that have made. Oh, it's locked. Let me unlock it. There are creators that have made, furniture items such as like, grass and trees and all kinds of stuff like that. Because notice underneath here, is just a flat texture map. So using like lots of furniture items, you can build something, pretty complex like you see here. I hope that answered your question. Anything else?
There's a few more questions coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Can you make your own room and rename it using a room that you bought and along with the products bought from shop?
I think the answer is yes. If you derive from a room shell, and then when you publish it, you can give it its own name and then decorate it however you want. That answers the question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to remove a standing spot in a room that is where you want to put furniture? It's in the default room.
Good question. Yeah, you can't remove things from room shells. A lot of the content right now in rooms or in room room shells, and by room shell we mean like an empty room with no added furniture. You can't manipulate the points in the room, like where furniture goes or where avatars go, or lights, or the camera, because all those things are baked into the room. And you have to be the actual publisher or the creator of that room. So if you are making a room, say in Blender, 3D Studio Max, obviously there you have control over where all those things are. But once it's imported into Studio, they're more or less locked in place. We do have some ideas coming for some features that will allow you to edit some things in a room, like placement and parameters of lights. I don't know that we've really thought about furniture nodes or avatar nodes.
I think that would be I think that would be totally possible.
Yeah, I think it would be possible. Sure.
It's along the same lines as we're thinking. With the when IMVU was originally created back in 2004, we're still working off the basic structure that we were like way back then, where in 3D Studio Max, if you build a room shell, you're basically placing your nodes and your lighting and your camera placement, in the 3D software, and then that's kind of set in stone. And so it's a fairly big project for us, but we want to kind of remove that part of the design and put it into IMVU Studio so people can change that on the fly. But we're not quite there yet. But exciting things coming, especially with lighting.
We've got a lot of fun questions in here.
Yeah, a lot of fun questions here.
Yeah, sorry if we're silent because we're
I'm actually trying
them all.
Yeah, and trying to answer some.
One question is, are we going to go over animated products? And I guess that means like a little more extensive tutorials on how to create animated products. I don't know, maybe we can direct to some of the online tutorials that we already have on those, or even maybe from some of our previous creators in residence or current.
Yeah, let me
probably be a good resource to forward to.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'm actually answering one question about are there any learning sessions on how to create your own mesh instead of deriving from ones already created by another creator. And I'm going to answer this both typed and I can answer it live, but most of our tutorials so far, we've been trying to focus on just how to take your 3D and 2D assets and get them working and how to prepare them for getting them into IMVU. But there is a great site, one of our former creators in residence, JazzCat, he has a great site that's mostly Blender, I believe, but he goes into great lengths and detail on creating 3D assets in Blender and how to use Blender, and I think he's a really good resource. And then answer the question here.
One question or statement, I should say, from Rana. I'd love to add more nodes instead of relying on Mesher to do it. So a bit of clarification, you can't delete nodes, but if you're in a room decoration, and of course I'm in room decoration right now just on IMVU desktop, I think. Oh, no, I'm on IMVU Studio. It looks the same. I was confused. But it works the same way. The list of the types of products that you own here, if you go all the way to the end of the list, you'll notice there's one that's called positions. And as far as avatar nodes that avatars can stand on, you can actually insert any nodes you want. A standing pose, a sitting pose, a walking, an idle, position. So I could come in here And I don't know, let me pick a spot. I don't know. I'll pick a spot there, and I'll add a spot right there. So if you notice, like there's a little balloon over this now. So that is now a standing spot. And if I turn on the mannequins, which basically just shows you where positions are, if you notice that's a mannequin, that's an idle position now, that's available. So yes, you can do that. Let's see. Anything else, folks?
Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. We can answer this in live. Lisa asks, is portal still an option to add to our room when you are decorating? Because I haven't seen it in IMVU Next. Am I in the wrong area? I just don't see the option to add it to any item that I have selected.
You know what? I can.
You want to take that one?
Off. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We actually exposed this back in October. We're working on it's a pretty big R&D project right now, which is going to allow creators to do scripting in Lua to build more interactivity into rooms and products. And one of the first experiments we did, of course, was adding portals. And so let me see here. Would be great to show everyone again. Actually, if I just go into desktop, I think I have to exit. Let me do this. Let me just go in. Well, in short, portals are definitely coming. They're not quite here yet. I think portals were made back in Classic using Flash.
Yeah.
Since Flash is no longer supported anywhere by the industry, that kind of functionality went away. And so we're working to bring that back, as well as a lot of other features coming. We probably don't have enough time to demo it right now, actually, but look out for probably a future learning session pretty soon, where we're gonna start exposing some interactive rooms again pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's a project I haven't gotten to play with much yet, and even though Mighty 7 has, I'm a little jealous. But yeah, it's looks really exciting. Mm-hmm. And portals came right out almost from the get-go of that project.
Yeah, that was the very first thing that we scripted onto a furniture item was a portal, because we had a hub which had like 7 or 8 different portals that went to different rooms where you could play different games. And I see a couple people on the open Q&A that mentioned they remember checking that out. And it's coming back. That was just a preview. We're kind of making things better.
Can we answer any other of the questions in the open Q&A list here?
I'm kind of working my way down the list here.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Rana again did say, not pose nodes, but furniture nodes, furniture placement nodes. Yeah, those are different that's a different kind of node. I thought that we had furniture placement nodes as well, kind of in the same location. Let me double check. Let me double check on that and get right back if anyone wants to answer a separate question.
Did we answer? Can we add multiple spots for sitting on furniture seating?
that works the same way as adding like a standing spot. You can add like a sitting spot, and you can place it so it's nicely over the furniture. And yeah, it works very similarly.
Yeah, and then based on the name of the node, you could attach various animations to it. So if you have a long couch and have 3 different nodes with 3 different names, you could make animations with those names, and those will be triggered when people go onto those nodes.
Cool.
Lisa put her furniture on the ceiling.
Ceiling couch.
Yay!
If only I could actually sit on a ceiling couch, that would be amazing, but I can't in IMVU.
Duct tape is a wonderful thing.
Others. So somebody asked, can we make meshing other people's meshes an option? That is a really tricky one.
Yeah, that is a really tricky one because you have to have access to the mesh, which means then you have to pull it out of IMVU, which we don't allow, because if you could pull anything out of IMVU, then it's borrowing again.
It's borrowing. Yeah.
Borrowing, yeah.
But
yeah, that's a really tricky one. I know that what some people. I mean, the only way I would say that to really do that is if you go to a site that actually sells meshes, royalty free content, and then you own the mesh, and then you can do what you want with it.
I mean, the other thing you can do is if you just want to change its shape or its size, you can use scalars. And I think that works. Well, it definitely works on all the avatar products. But furniture is coming soon, isn't it? Or is it available? I can't remember.
Furniture, what was that again?
Scalars on furniture.
Oh yeah, that's coming really soon. Those of you that might be in our alpha tester program, you're already playing around with that. So yeah, pretty soon you will be able to adjust furniture and accessory scalars.
Awesome.
But yeah, unfortunately, other than that, manipulating the mesh kind of bridges over into the realm of 3D modeling, and that would be a big undertaking to try and take on in Studio itself. Most of our workflow is done, at least for meshes, is done outside of Studio, and then you get your mesh set up exactly how you want with the nodes that you want to have in it, and then you bring it into Studio, and it's kind of a one-way street. You can't go out of Studio, just bring it in.
That makes sense. Okay, we've got about another minute here. Can you build your own avatar from the ground up and use it on your IMVU account, or is that not possible?
Yes, indeed. That's a big undertaking, but yes, you can do it.
And sadly, the toolkit doesn't help too much with that.
Not yet. We've talked about this. Is basically making that process easier for users to be able to do that. But the key thing is, I think you would have to start with the IMVU avatar skeleton, and if you had something that was different shaped, you could manipulate that skeleton. You can also add your own bones in addition to the IMVU skeleton, and add things like wings or other parts that come off of the avatar. But the tricky part will be getting all that to be weighted correctly to the bones, and also to not look really weird when it comes into IMVU and starts to do all the idols. So then you have to come up with your own idols, or replace all the idols with maybe a static pose. It's definitely can be done, but it's a little
people
bit
definitely
more.
do it.
Oh yeah. I can think of a few users that do dragons and ponies and
Yeah, as an example, go to IMVU shop and go to the avatars section and just type in dragon as an example, and those are that will actually uh, uh, replace your avatar with that with the dragon avatar, and it's its own unique skeleton with its own animation sets. Now, when you use an avatar that's completely custom, realize that no clothing item that exists in the catalog is going to work because the clothing
Right.
items are all meant to work with your basic male and female avatars. And so, but in case of a dragon, I don't know if you want your dragon to wear a hoodie, although that would be pretty cool. We actually do have some creators that build custom avatars, and then they build custom products that only work with those avatars. So that is also a thing. So it's totally doable.
But another question, does the avatar toolkit help with a room?
The toolkit as a whole, you can make rooms, yes. Don't know what they mean by avatar helper though.
Well, there's a room tool that gives you the basics of adding and removing the nodes that you need for the room. But really its biggest help is in getting that room exported and into Studio. What you build, for the room, like how you model the room, that's really more on the tools that come with your 3D program. And you have to be proficient with your 3D program, whether it's Blender, 3D Studio Max, Maya, to be able to use that. Where the toolkit comes in handy is if you want to quickly add or avatar nodes. That's its main purpose.
And scaling. And there's now reference
Right.
standing and sitting avatars in the room and furniture tool, so you can get more realistic scaling if you want to make a doorway size to an avatar and stuff like that.
I think we have time for one more. So this, they have portals in some of their rooms, and they've tried adding sliding furniture into those areas, and the furniture stays for that moment. But when they exit and come back, the furniture ends up at the entry point of the room. Any ideas?
Yeah, I was reading that one. Yeah, I'm not sure that's.
Is that referring to putting furniture on top of furniture? Like if a furniture has a furniture node on it? Like, is it? Because that's something I dealt with in the past. I haven't tried it anytime recently. If you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it depends on where you're doing this. I'd want to know if this was in the desktop or if this was in Studio.
Well, if he's talking about current portals, then it's probably definitely in Classic, right? Since we don't have.
Oh, true. Yeah. If it's specifically a portal, I was thinking furniture.
We are stumped.
We're stumped on that one.
We're stumped on that one. Okay, one last question. Is it hard to change the body shape on avatars? Blender. I want to create a kid shape clothing.
That would probably be done with bone scalers, which you technically wouldn't have to do in Blender. You could just derive off of an empty clothing product, and there's a scalers tab in which you can grab any bone that's on the avatar and change their scale. So you could make a different proportioned avatars.
Right, and if you proportion the avatar using scalers in Studio, then all the current clothing items in the catalog will work with it.
Okay. And Drosselmeyer, it looks like you were answering Marco Polo's
Yeah.
additional information about the furniture.
Yeah, we had one bug this was a while back, but if you get to a point where there's too many pieces of furniture or over a certain number of pieces of furniture, sometimes if you add a new piece of furniture, close the room, and then reopen it, those new pieces that are over the amount will be reset to the center of the room or where the original. I seem to recall this happening. And the solution, what was the solution? This was a while ago, so I can't remember. I think we fixed the problem and it was still happening for them. So what they had to do is actually delete the furniture and then close the room, open the room, and then re-add the furniture. I think I was going to suggest try deleting the furniture and then re-adding it.
Oh, Rana just added a comment about this, which could be helpful. That furniture portals aren't recommended for adding furniture because it's not a room shell, so the furniture added will load later and thus not lock into their positions properly. That's the same thing goes for avatars that let you take the form of a chair and bring a seat note for someone else to sit on. It isn't stable enough. Lisa said maybe if the room is made public and when you are editing, Lisa's had a room glitch a lot and it doesn't save correctly because of this.
Okay, all right. Good info.
Yeah, thank you both. Okay, we have had way too much fun, so we're going to have to say goodbye, sadly.
Oh, come on.
I know. Thank you, everybody, so much for attending, for asking all of your amazing questions. Thank you, Tauntaun, Mighty Seven, Drosselmeyer, Miyaka, for answering all of these questions and showcasing your demos. This was a super fun session. Take care, everybody.
And I just wanted to throw out that if there were questions that we didn't quite get to, we will answer those and post the answers with the video when it's put up.
Yes, we will be posting this video and add it to an article in our create.imvu.com section, which is the Creator Education Center. So, and we will let you know when that goes live. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thanks, folks.
Guys.
Ooh.
Recording.
Okay. Ooh, hold on. There, Randy's back. Okay, so I wasn't able to read comments very well because I was paying attention to the webinar because, you know, I was in it and I still did a terrible job. So, hello guys. I didn't get to do much of an intro, so I didn't actually stream the last couple weeks because I've been busy. So this, why am I blurry? Hello. So obviously this was the live stream for the learning session number 13, and that was Mighty Seven who did the presentation, and he did a wonderful job, and it's actually pretty cool little toolkit, and I might dabble in some Blender just to be able to play with it, because there's some issues with the exports in 3D Studio Max that actually are bugging me. So I don't know, I might play with that. It might become my new animation tool. I don't know. We'll see. See if I like it. But yeah, I did a good job, and I thought that was kind of a cool little features. If they do put it in 3D Studio Max, I'll be so happy. and also didn't know that they could export specific bones. You can do that in Max too, but the Cal 3D exporter crashes every single time on the older versions of Max, and I haven't been able to get a successful animation export using the toolkit with the newer version of Max. So there's that. Next week, Thursday, I think, starting at 3, so about a half hour earlier than this week's, I'm going to be interviewing the lovely Rix K. Just me and her, get to know her a little bit better, see how she got started in this business, see how she handles all the hate and love that she gets working in that position, because she gets it all. So that is it for me. It was nice hanging out with you guys again. Thank you for everyone who stopped by. I hope you guys have a lovely Thursday, and good night.